that heart of stone and give him a heart of flesh, and he's given him a story to tell because you've changed his life. You've set him free, and you've given him something to say. So, Father, let us have open hearts tonight and open ears of what you have to say, Father. And we give you all the glory. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
You know, I didn't think he was very nervous until there's like 200 people in here tonight.
Pushing on.
No pressure. Do you need something?
I like a podium. You leave that on there, I don't care. Is that cool? Music team? I use this?
You're cool.
Already got it.
Alright. That's fine. Alright, how's everyone doing tonight? Blessed and highly favored? I want to grab this chair for an illustration here in just a little bit. Man, I'm a blessed man, y'all. I have such a blessed family and even better church family. I mean, so many people have just poured into my life that, I can't begin to explain or how to understand how to give back. But, I read the Word and it tells me how to give back. It tells me how to pour and confide in other people, And that's what it's all about. Sharpening one another like iron sharpens iron. And I kind of want to start this testimony off from the beginning because, I am an addict. I feel that when an addict gives his testimony, people have preconceived notions that they grew up in a broken home with parents in a broken marriage, and that just wasn't the case for me. I grew up in an extremely loving and caring home. A mother and father that still together today and loves each other beyond belief. I know, every marriage has got its problems. But for every problem that, they had, Jesus had an answer. He constantly just worked in their life. And that made me want to be better. I remember when I started getting my life together, I started off in Gary and Mary's halfway house. And for anybody that's been to Grace Tabernacle that has not ever been there or knows anything about Christ, it's a little bit of a culture shock. It really is, because I stepped in there and I was like, man, people were praying in tongues and people were hitting the floor. I'm checking doors to make sure they lock them on me. I was like, man, this ain't what I'm used to. But, God prevails, and, He made me get out of my comfort zone. And, I still have a problem with that still today. I get asked to go into jails and stuff like that, and this is kind of a prerequisite that I set for myself. I wanted to do this before I went into the jails and started witnessing to the inmates. And I know everybody does it different. This is just something that I want to do. This is something I want to do myself. So with all that being said, I want to start off with my childhood. Like I said, I grew up in a loving and caring home. All the way through. I grew up good. I grew up slow, and was in all kinds of sports. All through middle school, I played like 4 different sports. Got into high school, and I kind of started experimenting a little bit. Maybe my freshman year. I went from being an 8th grader, didn't know nothing about anything, to stepping into high school and being exposed to all these different things. And as a jock, like in high school, it just comes natural. Like you want to fit in, you want to be that popular kid, And that popularity and all that pride that was invested in me, as such a young kid, poured in to, my addiction. It wasn't about being, this great athlete. It was about who can sell, who can sling the most drugs, who can do the most drugs. And, that has set me on a path of destruction. And I know Framers Chapel's got this thing going on called After Hours at the YMCA, and I really want to dig into that because I want to stress to these kids that kind of pride, that really, affects everything. Pride affects everything in Christianity in general. If I have too much pride, then I would never hit the altar. If I have too much pride, I wouldn't be able to pray for some Joe Schmo that did me wrong in 04. I was 10 years old, so unless I'm still holding a grudge against somebody pushed me off a swing set, But, man, I just want to stress these kids that, I just want to stress them what they're getting into. And, I got out of high school and, I got introduced to heroin. I remember the first time I stuck a needle in my arm was the first time I ever did heroin, too. I had some real good friends, right? They was like, look, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. I was like, all right. They got this needle, man. There was like 5 of them. They was all in it. One was holding my arm down. One got the turn to get around my arm. It's like a street phlebotomist, you know. And they was like all excited about it. You know, some real good friends, right? And I remember when it hit me, I felt like that warmth come up over my head and all throughout my body, that euphoric kind of feeling that you get when you do heroin. And it just, I mean, it had me right there. And honestly, I didn't even like it at first. I was more of a weekend trender. Like, I'd go out to parties and stuff, and I would just kind of, you know, occasionally do it. But the more I did it, the more I wanted it. You know, I wanted that feeling. You know, everybody else was getting so messed up, and, you know, everybody was considered cool. You know, stick a needle in your arm, you was cool. And I mean, the cool kids in high school nowadays aren't your jocks, or not your athletes, not your student athletes. I mean, they're your addicts. I mean, it's sad to say that that's the kind of world that we live in nowadays. You know, where, you know, your star football player, your star basketball player ain't near as popular as the high school kid that's dropping out, that's doing drugs, that's slinging drugs to all the underclassmen and all this stuff. You know, that's how I started out. You know, I thought it was so cool to be a part of that. And naturally started getting in trouble, doing jail time, you know, the whole 9 yards. I caught a case in Floyd County. I had a couple run-ins with him before with narcotics. And I remember I was sitting in this cop car. He put me in the front of a cop car, which I ain't never been in front of a cop car before. I was like, man, it's kind of weird. And I had drugs on me, and I really didn't want to catch another narcotic charge. So I was tied behind my back. I flipped up under my legs, and I popped the seatbelt. And luckily the door was open. I ran. Popped straight out of it, and I ran. And I think I was on a 2 or 3 day foot chase from Floyd County, all New Orleans, Floyd County. I just went Rambo in the woods for a few days. I mean, I did. And apparently I got an escape charge. I didn't know. I thought I was just fleeing and evading. It's a little different when you're in handcuffs, I guess. I had no idea. So that didn't do me no good. But I was in jail, and I got out, and I paid a lawyer. He got me a pretty good deal. He got me 2 years probation and a halfway house deal. Well, what I thought was a good deal. It actually turned out to be a great deal. Because, you know, I thank the Lord that I have such a great family. My aunt is Teresa Sherrard, if any of y'all know her. I was looking for a halfway house. They pretty much let me pick and choose whatever halfway house I could go. And I was looking at like the Serenity House. I was looking at every other halfway house but the Transformation House. I didn't even know they existed. I didn't have the pleasure of doing that much time in Harrison County to be introduced to Mary and Gary. But anyway, she started telling me, she was like, where do you think you're going to go? I said, I don't know, I guess the Serenity House, you know? She said, no, you're going to the Transformation House. I said, yes, ma'am. So I packed up my stuff, and I was in there that Monday, and I think it was a Monday meeting. Y'all still do the Monday meetings every now and again? Y'all skip that just to be here tonight, didn't ya? Praise the Lord. But I remember sitting in there. I'm meeting all these guys, Chris Combs and Noel Wright and Steve Lynch. And I was thinking, you know, I went through a lot, man. They've been through so much more. I was like, thank goodness someone's just as messed up as me. You know, and it's so good to have these people around because, I mean, it was so hard for me to submit to their authority because I just had so much pride, you know. But once they started kind of pouring into me, I'm like, man, these ain't bad guys at all. They're actually pretty cool people. No, Wright's all right, though. That's my mentor, by the way. Sometimes I don't talk to him as much as I should. And I'm like, man, why don't you ever call me? He said the phone works both ways, brother. I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I can't complain with that. And man, I was on fire when I was in the halfway house. There was moments when I would catch fire, and I learned that it's easier to catch fire than to keep it. You know, and especially when you're at the Grace Tabernacle, it's like, it's a little easier because all these people, I mean, everybody's so energized. I don't even know why y'all got pews, you don't sit in them. You know what I mean? And it's hard not to get excited. You know, everybody's so excited for the Lord. I was like, man, I want what they got. Everybody's so joyful. I remember working at this place called Fred Smith Store Fixtures. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's been through that house, got a little taste of that. And I remember working there thinking all these guys going with smiles on their face. And we have to get up. You got to be clocking in by like 5:30 or something. Like, you still work there? No. Well, I'm not a morning person at all. And it was a drag. And they got smiles on their face. I'm like, dude, why y'all smiling so much? You know, I'm like, what's got y'all? And they just kept telling me, Jesus. I had a buddy that was he was actually my bunkie in the halfway house. I mean, the first time he started talking to me about Jesus, I was like, dude, you know who you're talking to? I was like, you don't gotta talk to me like that. It was so foreign to me to hear one of my best friends in high school talk about Jesus. And I was just like, man, after a while, I want what they had. I seen all these smiles and stuff, and I was thinking, you know, what do I gotta do to get some of that? And I remember I worked my way up through the church, just like you would think. Well, at least I did anyway. I started at the very back of the church, back against the wall, arms crossed, wanted nothing what they was getting because they was all crazy to me at the moment. But I started getting more comfortable around. I made my way through the pews, and before long, when worship came up, I mean, I was all in. I mean, I had hands in there. You know, I was thanking Jesus, praising Jesus, but I would never hit the altar. You know, and I didn't see miracles in my life because I didn't seek the face of Jesus. I didn't pray to Him. You know, I just get so into worship. I was thinking like that was cool, that was okay. And then God hit me with something one day. He was like, you don't touch heaven by trying to reach up and grab it. You touch heaven on your knees. And he told me, he was like, brother, why do you just want to worship? He said, you want to be a well-rounded Christian, right? You can't just praise and not pray. You can't just witness and not get in your word. I started learning all these things. I was getting through the transformation house, and I was like, God, I don't have enough time, brother. I made up all these excuses, and I was thinking, man, I work, I go to church, and I sleep. I know y'all schedule real well. I mean, that's pretty much what it was, you know what I mean? And it was so, I just always made up these excuses, you know? And I always had preconceived notions in the back of my head of getting high. I did. I graduated that whole program, 6 months in there. I got out in November. I got out on Thanksgiving Day of 2016. And man, I hit the ground running. I did. I ended up getting strung out again. And I overdosed. I tried to get back in the halfway house in there for maybe like a week. I left, packed up my stuff that night. I don't know. It kept eating at my head, you know. I was sitting on Cane Run in my car after I just woken up. I fell out for like 8 hours or something, you know. It was a weird overdose. I ain't never really experienced nothing like it. And I woke up and I couldn't hear nothing. I couldn't feel the right side of my body. So I knew immediately that I did overdose. But in the back of my mind, I knew something else was wrong. So I drove to the nearest gas station. I popped in the doors and I just fell to my knees. Like I couldn't even walk. I mean, like I said, the right side of my body was just limp. And, you know, of course, everybody's giving me weird looks. They're like, man, this kid's messed up or something. So the cash register lady got this milk crate set up against the wall. I just like scooted across the floor to try to sit up on it. And something that got me that night was somehow my mother and father got notified that I had overdosed. I always keep my phone in my right pocket. It's like you see. So you can draw your own conclusion. I don't know how they got the number to call my mother and father. I don't know how they even knew about it. I wasn't even aware of what was going on at the time. I kept fading in and out. And the ambulance got me in there. I didn't want to tell them what I did. You know, I was fighting it the whole time. I was like, they was like, what are you on? Of course, I couldn't hear really. They had a scream in my ear for me to be able to hear somebody. And finally, I guess they hit me with Narcan. I came to. I'm at the Louisville Metro Hospital, and finally someone screamed in my ear, what are you on? Like, got as loud as he could. I said, heroin. He said, okay, well, we hit you with a couple things of Narcan. I started to come to. I got real sick, you know. And I was sitting in the ICU, and these two doctors came up to me. They didn't really look like doctors. I mean, they literally looked like they just walked out of Yale. I mean, they was in a suit and tie, real intelligent looking fellas, you know. And they was coming up, and they was talking to each other. They looked at me, was moving their mouths. Like, I let them just get done saying what they was going to say. I was like, look, brother, I can't hear. And they just kind of looked at each other again and said, well, you're gonna be with us for a while. That's the only thing I could read out of their lips. So I ended up moving my way out of the ICU. They was kind of telling me what was wrong with me. I had all these just like chemical imbalances in my body. I mean, my phosphorus levels were through the roof, my potassium levels were way down. Basically, my body was dying from the inside out. My kidneys were shut down, my liver was about to go out. And the reason was because, like I said, my body was literally eating itself. Apparently, it's poisonous to your kidneys and your liver to process broken muscle tissue. That's what it was doing. I was just real weak, you know? And that numbness, it was all throughout the right side of my body. I had a minor stroke. You know, I remember friends and family coming to visit me and stuff. Mary, Gary came, my aunt came, mom and dad came, of course. Brother Shane came. Look, you got some of them friends that come in the room and then they don't really say a whole lot. They're just there to support you and stuff. Then you got people like, you know, my brother Shane that's like, look, when it's time to pull that catheter out, I want to be the one pulled out. And the things are awful going in. I'm not saying it feels good coming out either, but I remember sitting there. I remember something that Mary told me stuck with me up until I went to the discipleship program, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. I still couldn't hear real well at this point, but I could read her lips. She said, you got to surrender. She said, you have to surrender. She said, you didn't surrender the whole time. She's like, you want something real, then surrender. And, you know, like I said, I couldn't hear her say that. I could just read her lips. I'm glad she was talking slow. You know, she probably was thinking, yeah, he's hard of hearing today. I was hard of hearing all week. But I ended up getting out of ICU. Finally got me in, like, I don't know what you call, like, the normal stage of a hospital. But basically, I just got out of the bad part, you know. No longer constant checking up on. They taking blood every 2 hours. And I was sitting up there and, you know, I started to get visits from, you know, church family and stuff. And my mom and dad stayed the night that night. Praise the Lord, I got such a good mother and father. And my dad was like, hey, Tim Johnson's going to come visit you. I was like, Tim who? He said, Tim Johnson. I was sitting there thinking, please, dear Lord, send anybody but Tim Johnson. Man, he came in there mad. He didn't say nothing. I'll tell you what, he walked in there. He didn't even look at my mom and dad. He didn't even look at me. He looked straight up at the TV in the corner and looked at it for about 15, 20 minutes. It was really awkward, to be honest. He did. He just kind of walked in there and just started watching TV. And about 5 minutes after that, man, he started laying into me. He did. He's like, look, you're done doing this to your parents. You're done doing this to the people that love you. And he said, you're also done doing this to yourself. You know, and I felt disgusted. You know, all these people were coming to visit me for something that's so self-inflicted. You know, for every person that came in, I just felt a little bit worse. And I was letting the devil beat me up for it. And he does a pretty good job. I've always been my own worst enemy. I've always been the guy, he does something bad, he gets beat up a little bit, and I'm beating myself up worse. You know, I always have been. I ended up checking out the hospital that night, I think. I still couldn't feel the right side of my body, but my hearing, you know, started coming back. I remember food tasting real weird too. I don't know why. I felt like I was swallowing nails after a little bit. I don't know what a stroke does to you, but man, it wasn't pleasant. I know that. I know it wasn't a normal overdose either. I got in the car that night and got a call from Bill Walsh the next morning. He's like, hey man, I got a place for you to go to. Got this discipleship program up north. It's called Heaven of A. And man, if any of y'all at the Transformation House think you got it rough, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. This place is hard-nosed. They run a tight ship. And this guy named Dave Norris, man, he was a hard knock dude back in the day. He's just the hardest Christian. And you can watch his testimony online. He's got something on CNN. I think that's what it was. He ended up writing a book called Free at Last. and he ended up kind of giving his testimony on there. I remember him talking to me one day after I got admitted in that program. He kind of shared with me how God got him a little bit. It was more or less what a friend said to him after he had overdosed. You see, in Bedford, around here, we go get our drugs in Louisville. I mean, you go to the dope man, and man, that's something else I want to bring up. You ever went to the dope man and asked for, hey man, give me some of that stepped on, cut up, and walked all over? No, you wanted the real thing. You know what I mean? And you want it because it's pure, it's good, right? Man, I was laying in that hospital bed, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, God, I want the real thing. This is after Tim Johnson came in there and stuff, by the way. But, you know what God told me? He said, okay then. He said, then give me the real you. He said, you have me. Give me the real you. And as an addict, I was used to just manipulate, just always being someone different. You know what I mean? So God had to always kind of had to work on my heart. Because beforehand, I used to think I was a good person. But Noah said something the other night that I wanted to bring up because I was the same guy. He said, I was the worst kind of addict because I can walk into an event such as this and convince everybody that I'm an alright guy. I can come strung out, I can convince y'all that I'm a decent dude, but I wasn't, So as I was saying, Dave Norris speaking to me, that just kind of reminded me of being real with one another and just being real to the Lord. In Bedford, you go get your drugs in Indianapolis. He went on a little dope run with his buddy, and he came back and they stopped at a gas station. And this guy, one of his buddies ended up overdosing in the bathroom. Someone ended up finding him before Dave did. It's like, man, what's taking him so long, So cops were called. Dave went to go check on his friend, right, and he was on the floor. He overdosed. He said, man, I didn't know if he was dead or alive, but I left. Cops were coming. A few months passed by, and that same friend ended up calling Dave Norris. He wanted to go on another run. He didn't know if this dude was alive or dead. He said, man, it's so good to hear your voice. Even though, they're drug addicts, they want to see a brother die, And Dave said, man, I told him I was sorry. He said, I'm sorry for leaving you. You know what his buddy told him? He said, it's all good. He said, I've done the same to you. He said, that's what got him. That's what led him down the righteous path. He said, from then on, he prayed to God. He said, look, I'm not good at reading this Bible. He always had a King James Bible. He said, give me a dumbed-down version of the Bible, is what he told him. He was sitting in jail, and out slid in through the beanhole a comic book version of the Bible. Literal comic book version. He started marinating on that. He got out, he started reading, and man, just things in his life just started falling in place. He went to Liberty University. He's got a master's degree in theology. And this man this dude is hard-nosed. He's all about authority and submitting to authority. I didn't realize for the longest time why he was so hard on that. I'm like, why not be hard on love or abounding in your gifts or praying or worshiping? But he was so hard on authority. I'm like, man, what's this got to do with anything? Nobody likes cops. I'm just kidding. Is Steve Coleman here tonight? Man, there was once upon a time when I didn't think cops went to heaven. My mind was so skewed. It was. But man, this program is so good. Just as far as just getting in the Word and reading the Word, we read the Word 5 hours out of the day. We started out in the New Testament and then read the Old. And he had reasons behind for everything that he did in the curriculum that we had. For people that didn't know the Bible, he wanted us to read the New Testament first. Just get an idea of the gospel, And then we start digging the Old Testament. Man, I learned so much of that discipleship program. You'll hear me spit off scripture tonight that I still remember from there. We did memory verses every Sunday, dug in the Word. Man, to be honest, I almost got burnt out after a while. I was like, man, this is so much. I learned so much too. How do you spend time with your biological father or someone that you love in your life? It can be through common hobbies such as hunting, fishing, basketball, whatever it is. But this right here, this is how you spend time with God. This is how you pick his brain. This is how you learn about him. How do you learn about your Father? You spend time with him. This is how you learn about your Father God. That was something I never did before. You know, like I said, I had all the excuses in the world when I was in the transformation house of not reading the Bible. And the guys, they're hard on it. They said, you gotta get your word, you gotta get your word, you gotta get your word. It's not because they didn't tell us, it's just because I just made excuses. You know, transformation house, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord for what they do. I know that the Harrison County Jail is on fire right now. And, man, I'm so thankful for all of them. I got out of that discipleship program. I'm kind of shortening this up a little bit. I got out of the discipleship program, and I knew I needed to stay plugged into church. So I didn't. I quit going to church. I mean, I would show up every now and again, but really I just got stagnant. I was like, man, I did so much church in such a short amount of time. It was like, man, I wanted to do a little bit of me time, but there's nothing in me that's good. Amen. And actually, I didn't get high. I didn't do bad. I was just stagnant. And I prayed to God one day. I don't know if I've ever told anyone this, but I prayed, God, send me someone. I said, just send me someone. I want to witness to someone. Y'all ever just want to do that sometimes? Well, since I was a little bit stagnant, I started getting back into church, right? I prayed that prayer. You know, I just really wanted to witness to somebody. And it came to be such a confirmation to me because one of my best friends, right, known this dude for 3 years, he never once told me he had a sister. I thought he was an only child. The whole time I told him. And the person that God sent me was this beautiful woman from California, and I was sitting there thinking, you have a sister? Oh, dude, I'm like your best friend. You never told me this. You know what I mean? And I just got to look back and kind of marvel because all the people that have poured into my life, I mean, your Mary Gary Deckers, your Steve Lynch's, your Chris Combs's, your Noah Wrights, your Tim Johnsons, your Tommy Dennisons, I mean, your Josh Allens, your Heather Allens, just all these people just poured into my life. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I have such a huge church family. It's unbelievable. And I was sitting there thinking, you know, y'all have poured so much into me, and I've learned so much now that it's time for me to start pouring into other people. You know, this is who God gave me to pour into. And I'm so humble for it. I mean, I just am. I mean, everything that I've learned, everything that everybody's poured into me, I can put it into work now. You know, I've done my time sitting in the pew and listening to the Word. You know, it's time for me to get out and start doing. You know, the Word says, do not be a hearer of the Word. Or do not be, what is it? That's it. Be a hearer of the Word, doer only, something like that. I can't remember, sorry. I was going to write it down, but I'm like, no, dude, I got this. But she's been such a blessing in my life. And, you know, sometimes I feel like, you know, she feels that I'm a lot more blessing to her, but it's really just the other way around. You see, I wanted to walk a straight line because I wanted to show her what it is to be a Christian man. I want to show her what Christianity is like, to be in a godly relationship. Now, I'm not saying I do everything right. Absolutely not. I fall short every day, and I'm flawed at best. But one thing I have done right by her is speak truth. I speak truth into her life, and I don't stress opinions. I mean, I read this book, and I see a bunch of opinions. I see a bunch of demands. I see a bunch of commandments. And everything that I have learned has led me to now, you know. I just want to pour into people. I mean, we love people. I mean, we have such a great relationship. I mean, we really do. And, you know, I see God working in our relationship, outside of our relationship. And I keep wanting to do more and more things all the time to stay involved. Like I said, I want to be in the after hours, at the YMCA. You know, I want to get involved with these kids' lives. And I just love Jesus, y'all. I mean, I can sit here all night and stress to you all the things that I've learned and stuff. I mean, I don't think I even read this paper. No, not at all. It's more of like a pause moment in case I start stumbling. But I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here tonight. There's so many of you that poured into me. I can't thank you enough. I mean, this is your fruit right here. Witness a walking miracle, but all I see is a bunch of walking miracles. And I want to tell y'all something about denominations. I don't agree with none of it. Denominations in general is division. You know, I don't see Pentecostals, I don't see Baptists, I don't see Methodists, I don't see Christians. You know, I had to say something that was on this paper, so. All right, I love y'all. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew.
Well, that's awesome. You know, you can't argue with a changed life. Amen. Can I have the worship team go ahead and come up?